Beginning. You still going to be able to edit this at all, or is it just all going out there? Okay. So I'm Matt from Intro Car. We're going to start doing some video blogs, showing you some of the parts we do, hopefully answering some questions, maybe giving some technical advice. I'm definitely not an expert, but I know a little bit, and we can certainly find out things. So if you have any questions, then please feel free to comment. I thought today I'd talk a little bit about brake pumps. For the Silver Shadows and Spirits and Turbos, the whole hydraulic system is run from two brake pumps. Obviously Shadows are run on RR363 brake fluid, and anything 1980 onwards is on LHM Plus mineral oil. You have to be very careful not to mix the two because you can cause a lot of damage to all the rubber components. So I've got some parts here to look at. This is a brake pump. This is from a later Shadow with a big top. The earlier ones have a smaller top. To try and give an explanation of how they work, the camshaft on the engine, which is the shaft that gets turned by the crankshaft, that usually pushes the valve lifters up and opens the valves. It has an extra lobe at each end which pushes another little tappet which pushes this push rod. This push rod comes up through the middle of the engine, through the tappet cover, which is where the brake pump's screwed onto, and as the camshaft pushes this internally pushes the plunger, and as the plunger goes up, it pushes fluid out the top. As the plunger comes down, it draws in fluid through these holes and builds up pressure. The pressure is regulated to 2,500 psi, but you know there's nothing that would stop that. It could go a lot higher. Inside the pump, this is the plunger. This is, if you look underneath here, this is the end of that. This is the plunger and barrel. These are match ground to a very, very fine tolerance, a couple of microns. When they wear, obviously you're going to lose efficiency in the pump. They could also seize if you've got moisture in the brake fluid and it rusts up a lot. Quite normal to see. If you've got old pumps, they can seize. This is obviously pushed up by the push rod, and there's a spring inside it that pushes it back down. That spring can break. If that spring's broken, often you'll see this just up inside the pump. You can undo the circlip, take the plunger out and replace the spring. If you've got a leak from the pump, it could be that these O-rings here have got old and failed. You'll have to undo the top pipe, undo the circlip here, which holds down these shrouds. The shroud sits down over the pump, and the feed pipe from the reservoir goes in the side of the shroud. This obviously sits around there, it fills up here with fluid, and as the pump comes down, it draws in the fluid from around the shroud. Two different types of shroud, early and late Shadows. The early Shadows have a flare fitting on the feed pipe that's, I think they proved to leak, so they modified it to it's got like a shoulder in there which takes an O-ring on the pipe, on the feed pipe. But they both do the same thing. This is a little shim that you use to set the height of the pumps on the tappet cover. The tappet covers haven't got a gasket, because obviously that would affect the height of the pump depending on how much you tighten down the gasket. So they use a piece of cotton. Now you just use well seal or gasket paste or something like that. But yeah, to set up if you've got a noisy brake pump, it could be that the height's incorrect and there's a gap between the push rod and the pump, causing it to not. The other thing is the push rods can break. This is a wasted push rod. You can see it narrows down here. It gives it a place to break. The earlier ones were straight, but I think you can get wasted ones even for the early cars. You have to check the length. This is the spanner that you use to take off the pump. So that sits over the pump there, locks into the castellations at the bottom. Don't try and use anything else to undo it because you'll probably just damage the pump, and they can be very tight. There's two different types of pumps, different size tops. The early ones had a smaller top. This is a later Shadow one with a big top. Then they go over to mineral oil and they go back to a smaller top. Not the same, just a third size. One at the front of the engine, one at the back. The front pump feeds number 1 system, I believe, and the rear pump feeds number 2 system. Yeah, the hydraulic system is very complicated. There's a lot to discuss on it. Maybe we go further down the system in the next video. If you have any suggestions or questions, then please comment. Apart from that, see you next time.